Sausage.
Hello, everyone. This is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Need for Speed Unbound, a racing game where you have the need for speed, and that need is unbound, unlike all the other games where it was very much so bound. Now you're unbound, and you're like, fuck, I need speed, and there's no shackles on me. What is that? There's you fucking I don't know. I was trying to reference it. What was this a movie? I don't know if it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. No, something. There are no chains on me. What is that? I don't know. Why I'm asking you. You're watching this months after I record it, probably. But I have played Need for Speed Unbound because I have a hot cold relationship with the Need for Speed. I wanted a break after playing The Last of Us Part 2, and I figured a racing game would be a nice, relaxing, chill experience that would be a good breather in between The Last of Us Part 2 and whatever quote unquote real game I played next. And it was between Unbound and Forza Horizon 5 because those are the two games that immediately came to mind in the racing genre that I really wanted to play. I went with Unbound because Forza seems like an inevitability, an obvious good time, and I was more curious about Unbound. I only played it a little bit way, way, way back in the day. No, that's not accurate. That means like 20 years ago. No, I played it not when it came out, but this is a little bit of a sad thing to talk about, but I played it right after my father came back home after his stroke. My father, if you don't know, uh, we just we were like, "Hey, everybody, we're talking about games," and now we're just like, "Oh, remember when my father had a massive stroke and almost died? Yippee!" But after he got out of the hospital, following 2.5, 3 weeks of being there and a good solid initial week of not even knowing if he was going to survive it all. He was, of course, in that initial period, getting acclimated to everything. We were seeing how close he was going to get back to 100%, etc. But when he started to return back to almost normal, he's never quite gotten there. I wanted to see if he was still interested in video games and tried to find games he could handle and games in genres he liked. He's a big fan of shooters and racing games. Love the Forza Motorsport series, the main racing series, and Call of Duty. I figured Call of Duty would be in too intense, but a racing game would be something that he could just relax and enjoy. And the fact that Unbound takes place in Chicago might be something that he thought was kind of cool, because spoilers, I live in Chicago. That's the thing that excited me about this game, and I played a little bit then, realized quickly this is not gonna be for him, and didn't touch it again since. So, fast forward to now, and I've played it. I think Need for Speed Unbound, which is the first Need for Speed game I've played since I think it was what was it? I played Payback, I believe. For Attack the Backlog a few years ago. But of all the Need for Speed games I've played, and it's a sporadic playing, Underground by far my favorite of the series. I adore the Underground games from the PS2 generation. I can't remember if they did because they seem to have done a lot of, hey, remember Need for Speed Hot Pursuit back on the PS1? Well, we did it again. Remember was Most Wanted an original one that they remade, but I think they've done it a few times where they've taken a subtitle from an earlier game and just done it again. But of all the games I've played, Underground being my favorite, probably the original Hot Pursuit, my second. I think Need for Speed Unbound is the worst of the bunch. Let's get the positives out of the way first. I don't want to say out of the way because they're positive. The game looks great. It has this kind of subtle, cell shady art style that is really, really good looking. You see it more through the cutscenes, the story, and all the characters. You definitely get that cell shady look there. And when you are in the cars and driving in the world, it's much more subtle. It's there. You can tell that it's not just a pure realistic style, but it's way more subtle. And you have all this wonderful flair to your cars and the world and driving around. So when you are drifting, you'll see smoke or flashes or lights or sparks, whatever you have your car set to, coming out of your back tires, maybe the front tires too. But you see it build up and it's very colorful and vibrant and alluring when you go off of jumps. And you could have some of these things turned off to have none on if you want. I think maybe with all of them, if you don't like the flare, if you find it distracting, you can turn it off. But when you're off jumps, you'll have little kind of neon things sprouting from you. So you can have wings or other stuff when you're going off big jumps. There are things that pop up over your head. You can have novelty horns. I had a cat horn to bug my one friend when he popped in to one of the streams and stuff of that nature. And all that is really nice. The game has a great sense of style from a visual standpoint. The story and all that is another story. That's about where my positives and everything negative begins. From a gameplay standpoint, it drives fine, but what I don't like is that in most games, I associate drifting with e-braking. So if I want to drift, I'm gonna hit that e-brake to really start my car turning. How it works in Need for Speed Unbound is that all you have to do to initiate a drift is tap the brake button, not the e-brake, the regular brake button. And that'll send your car drifting like crazy, depending on how hard you're turning the steering wheel. And I hated that system because it makes drifting it's so sensitive and you don't get the ability to really brake for mild turns. So if you come across a turn in your path in your course in the track and it's too severe that you can't just keep the gas on. You need to slow down somewhat. You're pretty much you're not screwed. You just have to be very, very careful with how you handle the turn because you can't brake. There's no braking. It's just drifting or going. You can let off the gas, but maybe that's not enough. Maybe you just needed a little bit of a brake. But you can't do that because doing that initiates drifting. Unless, of course, you've tuned your car to be more sticky as opposed to drifty, or with the supercars that you start driving in the late game, those don't really drift at all. So it bugs me in that you have the e-brake that is pretty much worthless and useless the majority of the time, unless you're doing a really, really sharp U-turn or you're going down a a straightaway super fast, and then you get to an incredibly tight turn or something, then you might want to initiate the e-brake to get extra stoppage so that you don't, because of the momentum and all that, you don't propel yourself past the turn or into a wall or something like that. But that whole drifting system just didn't jive with me at all. I got used to it. And it became weird when I got to the supercars and no longer was drifting a viability. But then with that, it became incredibly easy. And I had all these DLC cars to deal with. I don't like that when you are in the world driving around, because this is an open world game. The way it's structured is that you have a day and a night. And what you're doing on or during the day and the night is going on races, doing odd jobs like delivering cars, or I think the night one is maybe you're delivering nefarious goods. You don't know what you're delivering, but they're more dangerous. And I think they throw in the heat at you. But what you're doing is going on races, and the races will come with various heat levels. And these heat levels increase your overall heat level, as you might assume. And what that means is that the more races you do, the higher your heat level gets, the more the cops will be out looking for you. And this resets after each day. So during the day, you are partaking in races and increasing your heat level. And then when you get to night, that heat level carries over, and any races you do during night add on to that. And whatever that heat level is, max level 5, you will have to deal with cops of a certain degree. So probably heat level 1 and 2, not very aggressive. If they see you and spot you long enough, they'll start chasing you, but you don't have to worry too much about them because they're not going to be setting out spike strips or roadblocks or having a helicopter or throwing fast or heavy cars at you. It's going to be pretty basic, easy to get out of. But once you get to level 3, it starts to get a little bit more hairy, but 4 and above are where it gets really incredibly annoying. In theory, I think this is a neat system, this kind of risk reward system of, do I take on this really big race that's going to give me a lot of money, but it's also going to come with it 2 heat levels on its own? Or do I take on a smaller race that is not going to increase my heat level too much, but it's not going to give me a lot of money? And at the end of every week, it's a 4-week game. You have a qualifying race for the big race at the end. You also are putting at risk all the money you've made during that time frame. So all the money you've earned during the day or during the night, if you are busted, I'm assuming because I never was busted, but if you're busted, you're going to lose all of that money. So if you've done 2 races during the day that are high level heat races and you've earned $50,000, and then you say, I'm feeling pretty good about myself, I'm going to go do a 3rd race, and then I'm going to go bank it at one of my safe houses. If during that process, on your way to the race, after you gain even more heat, you're busted, all that money you've earned, down the drain. All that work you've done, garbage. In theory, I like this system. What kills it for me is that so many races end with cop chase resumes. And to me, that breaks it. Because I don't mind partaking in this kind of risk reward system where I am increasing the chances of me having to outmaneuver cops. I don't like, or I don't mind it where after I've done these races and increase my heat system, now suddenly I have to be much more careful in how I'm driving and pay attention to the mini map and make sure that I'm not spotted and initiate a car chase, because it's going to be a lot more difficult to get out of it, especially when helicopters come into play. And the only way to really avoid them is you can outdrive them depending on the car you have. But more realistically, you're going to want to find a tunnel or something to hide under. But when you have this whole system of cops often ending up in races and starting to chase you and the other drivers, usually they're just dealing with you. That means that at the end of the race, a cop chase is going to resume, and you're going to be at your heat level, whatever it is, and you're going to have to get out of that before you can go bank your money at a safe house, etc. So I don't like that a race so often ends with you having to get out of a cop chase, as opposed to a race ending and now your heat level is really high and there are going to be more cops on the streets looking for you that can spot you. If you get high enough, there'll be unmarked cars, making it more challenging, and so on. Because it makes it a lot more frustrating. And the cops are so fucking annoying in this game. And I genuinely think if they just remove that, if never a race ended with cop chase resumes, I think I would have been significantly less frustrated and annoyed with this game. But what else makes it annoying and frustrating is the fact that it is probably the most challenging Need for Speed game I've ever played. And it's one of the more challenging races I've ever played. And I'm saying that because it has its difficulty settings. And after playing for maybe 4 hours on the default normal setting, I said, I don't want to do this. I maybe won one race and I didn't feel, I, I was going to say, I didn't feel the need for speed. I didn't feel like I was competitive in these races. I always felt like there's no chance of me getting in the first place because it is very much designed around, okay, you have your various classes. And if you're not the top of the class in terms of what your car's output looks like, where it's, the number one racer is at 159, you're at 148, you're predicted to come in a third, your likely best chance is getting a third, but you could end up lower. When you lower the difficulty to relaxed, which is their easy difficulty, and calling it relaxed is an extra slap in the face, it is not a relaxed experience. It is not an easy experience. It is not something where you can guarantee that you'll always end up in first, even if you have a car that is predicted to come in first. Well, one, you definitely need that because if you don't have that, you're definitely not coming in first, or you're very rarely coming in first because it's not that much easier than playing on the second highest difficulty. That changed as I tuned one of my cars for the Class A. Things became a little bit easier, but still not super breezy. It wasn't until I hit the supercars, which were all cars I had as part of some DLC, and those smoked the competition. Those, when I got to the final week and was partaking in a lot of S plus races and using my supercar, the other racers did not have any kind of cars that could compete with mine at all. I blew by them so fast. And the only thing that kind of hurt me in races was that that car could not fucking turn at all. And especially when I'm on long straightaways and I've built up a lot of speed, that car just did not want to turn. That was an e-brake situation. But it was just incredibly frustrating to have this relax mode, quote unquote relax mode that wasn't relaxing at all. I was trying to just have a relaxing experience and this game did not want to give it to me. What also makes the driving frustrating is that the game has its fair share of bugs, but most notably, well, one, when I ended the game, got credits, skipped them, and tried to select my car to just roam around in the open world. When I exited out, it brought the credits back up and I couldn't exit. I just fucking shoved the credits back in my face that I couldn't interact with, but I was in the world. I could hear that I was in the world, but the credits were still going over. It was a mess. But the real bug that is a killer for the game, and I don't know if this is prevalent or whether it exists on PlayStation, PC, etc. I played on Xbox Series X, and every time the game autosaves, it stutters. It kind of just locks up for a second. And you're like, whoa, what's happening? And it is unbelievably unpleasant in a racing game in particular to have the game stutter every time it autosaves. And it'll autosave during a race. If you are driving in a race and you come across a gas station that can repair you, and I think that also refills your nitrous bar, If it's a new gas station you've never found, that means it's gonna autosave on after you've, quote, unquote, "found it and unlocked it," and that's gonna have the game stutter during a race. If you complete some part of a challenge during a race, it's gonna autosave and it's gonna stutter, and that happened all the time, and it was so frustrating. I also think a lot of the track design isn't that great. The story is a dumb TikTok mess. This feels like it was written and designed and made for the TikTok audience, TikTok, which I am very much so not. The TikTok audience would be my children if I had children, but I don't have children, so it's not for me. But I thought this story was so stupid and very annoying, and having this character who was my friend, and then they got in a kerfuffle with the one dude, Ridley. Was it Ridley's garage, Ridley something? But she fucking stole my car. This is a fucking Pokemon ass thing. It's like Pokemon where your rival, instead of having their own car that is counter to your car, they steal your car. So it's like Pokemon if, when you pick your Pokemon, you build them up, you get this relationship with them over the first hour or 2 with the game, and you're like, "I love you, my Pokemon," and then your rival comes and says, "You know what? I'm fucking taking your Pokemon." And then you get some fucking piece of shit Weedle or some crap, and you're like, "Well, I guess this is my Pokemon now. I'm gonna turn this into a great Pokemon and maybe get my car back." And then a few hours later, you run across your old friend who's taking your car, and you look at him like, "What did you do to my car? They look so stupid now. I don't even know if I want it back." And then the game ends and you get your Pokemon back and you're like, "Well, I have it back, but I'm never driving again because you look like shit. I'm gonna have to do so much to change you. What'd you do to my Pokemon?" That's what the story of Need for Speed Unbound is like. But it is just a really disappointing game. Again, looks great. I love the sense of visual style that it has. I think all that looks really, really nice. And and to the drifting point, it doesn't feel bad. It's just such a part of the game that I wish you just had the more nuanced nature. I just wish you could actually brake. When the situation calls for it, when the race calls for it, when the turn calls for it, I wish I could brake. And the only way to really do that is to be very, very gentle with it. Let off the gas, be very gentle, and don't turn the steering wheel too much. And I wish that wasn't there. The e-brake exists for a reason. To me, the e-brake is the drift brake. Just use that. Have me tap the e-brake to initiate a drift. It's there. Let me use it. But it was a very, very disappointing experience. A game that I did not want to keep finishing, but my stubbornness is what powered me through. And when I realized the format of the game, of this day night system, working your way to the end of the week to the qualifying race, and it being broken up over 4 weeks, when I realized that, I just did a single race each part of the day. So in the day and then in the night, and then I banked my reward. Or I didn't even do a race and would do a side job. Rydell, that's his name. Rydell would give you during the day these delivery jobs where you take a car and deliver it to someone. And those would give you a decent amount of money while also giving you no heat. So they were a no risk type of mission. I like those a lot. And you do need to build up a certain amount of money. So one, if you want to tune up your cars and upgrade your garage so that you can tune them up even nicer. But the qualifying races, they require a certain amount of money to get into them, to actually do them. And I'm not sure what happens if you don't have enough money by that point, if it just resets and start over the week, which would be, that'd be frustrating. But I just was really disappointed with the game. It I wasn't expecting the story to do. I don't even know why they bother with stories. I don't know if anyone comes to these games for the story And I feel like those resources, I guess writers and artists creating the cutscenes and voice acting, they're not people on the team who would be able to help with other aspects of the game. But the money spent on those resources, those parts, I feel like would be better spent elsewhere. It's a racing game. Do you really care about the story? You look at something like a Gran Turismo or a Forza Motorsport; those don't have stories at all. And even Forza Horizon, I feel like they have very, very, very loose stories. They just kind of give you some contextual reason for why everything's happening. No, we're having this big event in Australia or in England. That's why you're here racing and all these things. The end. That's enough for me. But yeah, that's Need for Speed Unbound. I was un I've got nothing. I was trying to think of something to say there, and I didn't want to just stare at you while I try and think of something. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Anywho, that is Attack the Backlog, and I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX. So that's the end of the episode. If you didn't already realize about what I was doing. But yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, a private Discord channel, along with some fancy Discord roles, and the occasional random drop on the Patreon here or there, depending on your tier. Or you could just support me to support me if that is your fancy. That is again patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. That is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci,